to our writing games for the NaNoWriMo Young Writers Program. I'm Erin, and I am a children's librarian at Kingwood.
And hi, I'm Amy. I'm the branch manager at the Catherine Tyra at Bear Creek Library.
So NaNoWriMo is a challenge that people complete in
Hard.
The challenge is to write 50,000 words in 1 month. Almost since the beginning of NaNoWriMo, there's been a Young Writers Program as well, so that writers under the age of 18 can also try to write their novels.
And the success of NaNoWriMo has led the organizers to add 2 extra events in April and July called Camp NaNoWriMo. So in July, which that's now, Camp NaNoWriMo is all about making your own writing goals and setting aside time to write.
So if you haven't signed up yet, you can check out the NaNoWriMo website or the Young Writers Program website so that you can join the challenge. Now, because this is an all-age program, we have a few rules. When posting writing excerpts, please don't post anything that isn't PG. Also, be careful about any personal information you choose to share in our chat. We want everyone to have fun, but also to be safe.
Yes, so in the chat, if you would please tell us what you're writing. And also, we'd love for you to help in our brainstorming for one of our upcoming games. So also, please give us 2 adjectives that describe a person, a character type, a setting, and an object.
So I have an example here. I've got persistent for my adjective. My character type is a librarian. My object is a book, and my setting is a library. You notice a theme here. So I made a few extras to start out, but go ahead and give us your words. I think. Oh.
Yeah, we'll be looking in the chat for those, so please feel free to let us know what you're kind of brainstorming with us, and also let us know what you're working on.
So what are you working on, Amy?
So I'm kind of like doing a weird mishmash this month because my second book is actually with my beta reader, so I'm not supposed to be doing anything with it. I was like, I'm going to be good. I'm not going to work anything on it. But then I was like, oh, maybe I'll start writing book 3, even though I don't have a plot. I mean, who needs a plot? I mean, like, they're not important, right? I'm a discovery writer, so like, the characters figure it out eventually. It all works out in the end, right? That's what's important. So I started working on book 3, and I'm about, I just started it last week. Yeah, I don't even know what week it is anymore. I started it last week, and it's about 6,000 words so far, which was just too bad for like not having a plot.
Yeah, good job.
How about you? What are you working on for this month?
I am trying to write a new iteration of a book that I keep rewriting. It's a swashbuckling pirate adventure that I've been writing and rewriting for like 14 years. So, but it's going well this time. I'm happy this time, so it's good.
Awesome. Well, I rewrote the first book that I published. I rewrote that like 5 or 6 times. Like the first iteration was like a magical wizard school thing, and it didn't end up being like that at all, which is hilarious. So, rewrites can be very helpful. So they're cleansing.
Yeah, there's a character who was a minor character in the first draft 14 years ago that through subsequent drafts has become one of the 2 main characters. So that's very different for me because I keep stopping and thinking, oh, I need more scenes to like explain her thought processes because she's like a major character. So
I have a character like that, and now he's on the cover of the second book.
Okay.
Oh, and Taylor says that her characters just kind of figure it out too.
Okay.
So we know how that goes.
So anybody got some words for me, please?
Well, let's see. I'll try to think of some. Let's see. We needed something to describe a person. I liked your word persistent. I'm going to go with, and I should probably write it down so we remember it. Got my Word document up here. I'm going to go for kind. And then let's see, also we needed a character type. You picked librarian. I'm going to go thematic for me and go with outlaw.
Oh, nice.
And then let's see, I needed character. I did character type. Setting. Let's do the Old West.
All right.
And for an object, just to make it crazy, let's go with an iPhone.
Okay.
We'll have a little bit of everything with that.
All right, I've got I'll fold these ones up too. I've got little stacks here. If you're anybody who's tuning in, they can still give me words and I will still add them to the stack even after we have moved on to our first game.
Mm-hmm.
So, or if you tell me about your novel, I might write whatever you tell me your character type is in. So, petite and spry detective in Seattle with a tape recorder. Okay.
I like how that was written because it was written like the Clue game. So it's like, okay, did Colonel Mustard do it?
Sly is a good word. I like that.
I like that one too, yeah.
Okay. So I think we're going to start our first game.
All right.
The next slide. There we go. It says, well, it's actually kind of our warm-up. So we're going to ask you some questions about your setting. Actually, all of the questions I wrote are about characters. It says setting, characters, and story, but they're all about your characters. So I'm just going to answer for my two main characters. If you want, you can answer for any characters you want to. And so the first question is, what is your character afraid of?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I would say that, well, one of my characters is afraid of almost everything. But she's most afraid of not living up to her own ideals, I think. And then, so that's Breer. And then Gabriel, I'd say Gabriel is probably afraid of not being able to help someone because he ends up in this situation in the story where everybody else seems a lot stronger and more competent than him, and I think he's kind of afraid that he's going to drop the ball and, mess everything up. So.
I like that. I think a lot of people can relate to that too. So for me, for my two characters, I'll go with my two main characters from my first novel since I'm really in their heads a lot. So the first character, Blaze, he's probably similar to your first character you mentioned, because he's like super introvert type person. So he's also afraid of, number one, he doesn't like lots of crowds. He's like very introverted. So if you're like, hey, let's go to a party, like that's like his worst nightmare right there. Like he doesn't want to do that. He wants to go hide in the corner. So that's something he's afraid of. He's also just afraid of like not being thought of as, worthy of other people's time and attention. So he's got like a lot of like confidence problems. Then my other character, Jack, he's actually not afraid of very much, which is kind of interesting. He's kind of the character who's seen as like the tough guy. He's really a tough guy with a heart of gold, and stuff does scare him. He's just like a fake it till you make it kind of guy. But he's scared for, he has a teenage daughter, so he's scared about things happening to his daughter, and he doesn't want her to, leave the nest type of thing. So that's kind of what he's scared of, which I feel a lot of parents can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. So would anybody else like to tell us what your characters are afraid of?
And Taylor's asking what time period is your story. So I don't know if she's talking to you or to me, but tell us what your time period is, Erin.
I mean, it's kind of like Fantasyland time period. It's like sometime between the 15th century and the 19th century. And depending on which part it's from different, like picking, you know. How about you?
So mine is set around, it's a second world fantasy, so like not our world, but it steals a lot of our stuff from like the Old West. I actually like in our library I learned a bunch of books about the Old West to get things right. So it's set about 1890 if it were our world, but it's not our world. So I get to use like different fun Wild West stuff, but also I get to like ignore certain things and not have to be too worried about historical accuracy like all of the historical fiction authors. So that's kind of fun.
That's good. That's why I write fantasy, because sometimes you're like, I don't need to sit around and research what underwear people were wearing. I can just decide.
Exactly. Although there are probably books out there on it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay.
Well, I don't see anyone saying what their characters are afraid of in our chat yet, but they can still let us know. But maybe we'll move on to the next question, which is if they're a young character, do they? Oh, we can go back to this slide. Thank you. If they're a young character, do they do their homework and turn it in on time? Or if they're like an adult character when they were younger, did they do their homework on time and turn it in on time? So Erin, how did your characters react to that? If they had homework back then, I don't know, maybe they were busy in the farmer's fields.
Yeah, neither of my characters actually went to school, but one of my characters is the sort of person who, Breer's the sort of person who would absolutely have had all of her homework done and turned in at exactly when she was supposed to do it and would have had all of the specifications right. She's very like ordered and like tries to do everything that she's supposed to do. I think Gabriel probably would have done his homework, but he might have turned it in late sometimes, and he might have kind of like flubbed bits. Like he probably, it's not that he just didn't care, but he would have been a little bit more lazy about it than Breer, certainly. How about you?
So for my characters, Blaze, he would be the type, he had spoilery problems I won't go into, but he ended up not being able to go to school. He did go for a while, but then he couldn't end up going. But he would have been the type, he would have turned things in on time, tried to have them as best as they could be, because again, like he feels he's not worthy, so he's seeking that approval. Jack, on the other hand, he didn't really go to a school as we know it either, but he would have been the kind who probably would have cut class, like done things he shouldn't do, like try to like irritate the teacher and like get in fights he shouldn't get into. So he probably wouldn't care about homework. He'd be like, like, why am I doing this? Why bother? Like, I know what I need to know already. So that's his character type.
So we've got a couple of good comments. Kimberly says one of her characters is afraid of not being accepted by others, which that's a good one that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, and that really resonates with so many readers.
Sorry, you go ahead and say.
Yeah, and Taylor says that her character went to an all-girls school, but was not the ideal student, so wouldn't say that homework was a priority.
Okay, so the next question, I'm gonna move right along. Next question is, what 3 things would they take to a desert island? I would say Gabriel's a shoemaker, so he would take a good pair of shoes. He would take probably like something to help him like pass the time, like a book, and maybe like a canteen or a pot for water.
That's a really good idea. So he wouldn't want to, would he take any stuff to like repair his shoes if he was there too long?
I mean, if he only had the choice of, I guess maybe, it's a little bit fantastical. Like if he was really thinking, he might take his shoemaking tools instead of a book. But, if you just like put him on the spot, I would say that Breer probably would take like, they're both very practical people. So I think she would take like a change of clothes and like, like maybe like a knife and very like boring things. She wouldn't, some characters would take very like fun things, but they'd probably be pretty boring.
Oh, and Taylor asked a good question. So does this include items that they already have? So like, say your character already has their shoes, like maybe they get a pass for that. Then it could take something else.
I don't know. I think that it's like what, in a question like this, I think like if they didn't, what would be like a super priority if it wasn't there? Like usually Gabe would have his shoes, but he wouldn't make sure that he had a good pair of shoes. Like it's very, you know.
So it's almost like the your house is on fire. What 3 things do you grab before you leave type of thing?
That kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so I guess it's not in addition to their current kit.
Right. I mean, they might have other things already. I assume that Gabriel would also want some clothing, but you know.
If we're keeping this PG, that gets a free pass. That goes without saying.
Yes.
Well, so for me, for my character, so Blaze, he really wants to be a baker all throughout the first novel. That's his jam right there. So he would probably try to take like some kind of like baking pan or something like that, and then hope that he was on a desert island, like he could like find something to make flour out of. So he'd probably take something like that, something to make a fire, because luckily he's in like a frontier type setting, so you know they could do like frontier type cooking. And he'd probably want to take a book too, because he does like to read. Like he did that a lot for his free time. And then Jack, he would probably, you know, he's a tough guy. He's an outlaw, so he'd probably take his 6-gun along, because that's kind of a Wild West thing. He would want to, well, this might be cheating, but he would take along his Pegasus, and then I guess he would just get off the desert island, because he's like, booyah, I can fly. So he would take a saddle too. So I guess, you know, Jack's kind of a cheat, so I guess he would take the Pegasus, get off the island, and be done with it.
Taylor says a magnifying glass, tape recorder, and a notepad. Let's hope they have shoes. All right, I think we're running a little late on time, so let's go on to the next game, or actually the first game, which is...
All right, so our next game is called Poetry Poker, and would you like to explain what this is to us, Erin?
Okay, so Poetry Poker is a game that I played with students during a poetry unit, and it was so much fun I decided to try it for fiction. It's pretty easy. You draw 5 words. So everyone draws 5 words, and those 5 words are your prompts for the next 10 minutes. If you don't like the words, you can discard as many as you want, but then the second time you draw, you're stuck with whatever you have. So if you're going to discard something, stop and think, maybe what I'm going to get is going to be even worse than what I have. So, you know, so since we aren't together, I made flashcards online for us to use. So if you can follow the link, I'm going to, well, if someone could post it in the link for them. It's, so click on that link and then click shuffle. And you'll just write down the first 5 words that you get. My words are dust, benevolent, bayou, fall, and teacher. I think I'm going to keep dust, benevolent, and fall, but where my characters live, there really isn't a bayou. I'm going to discard bayou and teacher and see what else I get. I got dragon and fever. Oh, I should have stuck with fall, or with teacher. Okay. Dragon and fever. So go ahead and let us know what words you got. And if there was anything that was particularly funny that you decided to discard, you can let us know that too. How about you, Amy? What have you got?
So I have brazen, ghostly, dappled, camaraderie, and jubilant. And And I'm actually going to keep all those because I might get something worse.
Okay. All right. So we're going to write for 7 minutes, actually, since we're running late. So take a look at your words, and we've got 7 minutes on the clock. All right.
And we're back.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Now I wrote my words on the back of my script.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So please share your excerpts in the comments and tell us what words you were using. How did you do, Amy?
So I was able to use 4 of my 5. So to refresh people, I had brazen, ghostly, dappled, camaraderie, and jubilant. And the word I thought I'd be able to use was the one I didn't end up being able to use because of where I went with my little prompt. But I wrote, the dappled gray Pegasus arched her neck, trotting up to the fence like a specter through the ghostly mist that hung over the meadow like a veil. She let out a jubilant whinny when she saw her rider, eager for his shared camaraderie. So the one I didn't use was brazen, which was like the perfect word for my story, but couldn't use it in that grouping. How about you? How did yours go?
Okay, so I had dust, benevolence, fall, dragon, and fever, and I managed to use all of it, but I'm pretty sure this won't be too useful in my actual story. Arissa removed her hand from Gabriel's forehead. You haven't got a fever. I don't think anything is infected, but be sure to keep the wound bandaged. You wouldn't want to get any dust in it. I'm not sure I'm cut out for sailing, Gabriel said. You'll learn. I was sure the first time I climbed the rigging I was going to fall and break my head open. The first mate probably didn't help ease your fears. It seems like she could be a real dragon if she were not pleased with you. Arissa shook her head, but did not comment on Lady Lilith's benevolence or lack thereof.
Ooh, I like that, though. I think that could work in your story. That's pretty good. Now, we had some people also tell us the words that they had drawn. So Kimberly got reflect, dawn, mosquito, bio, and sweet. And then Taylor got cemetery, mosquito. Mosquito's very popular right now, I guess, because it's summer. Dappled, fever, and winter.
Okay. So from Taylor, her excerpt is, she walked as her eyes scanned the rain-dappled sidewalk, avoiding looking ahead. The old cemetery was just across the way, but she hesitated, frozen on the corner. She remembered her friends back in school in Seattle. Now she was miles from all that. Winter was setting in around her. The light blinked and the people around her shuffled. She clutched her tape recorder, smacked the mosquito on the back of her neck, and moved forward across the street. The gray tombstones were glaring at her through the spaces of the black iron fence. Had the fever swept through here like it had back at school? She was desperate to find just that one name, yet that one name was like an iron chain wrapped around her ankles, each step harder than the last. Ooh, very evocative, and I can see where you use the words, but it's not like you managed to work them in very organically. Very nice.
Taylor got some nice prose there. Yeah, very good. And if anyone else has any other things that they wrote, we would love to hear. But if not, that's okay too. But while y'all think about adding that to our chat, we can talk about our next game. So for our next game, we're going to use a line from another book as inspiration. So we're going to virtually roll 2 dice to find out which page we're looking at. And since we aren't in person, luckily we have a website for that, because there's always an app for that now. So let's get our page number and see what our first sentence is. So I think we'll have to click on the rolladie.net to be able to get there. Looks like we have a 3.
Okay, so if we change it to, we can change it to 2 10-sided dice, and then we'll have it out of 100. So if you click the, yeah. Whoops. Okay, there's a 1, and let's get one more. 9, so page 19.
Page 19.
Really early. So I'm going to pull one of the books. I have a stack of books over here. I have The Case of the Lost Boy.
Ooh.
And my first line is, I usually pick the first full sentence. My first line is, but I can't help it.
Let's see. I've got to pull something. Let's see. Gotta find something PG.
I've got a stack here if you want me to.
I've got good old Robin Hobb. Nice, thick, epic fantasy. I'll probably get something crazy then. Oh, page 19, first sentence. What about me? I like that one. Thank you, Robin Hobb.
All right. So you can let us know what your first lines are if you'd like, or if you'd rather just share them when you share your excerpts, that's okay too. Oh, my line on page 19 gives the book away.
Oh, spoilers, spoilers.
Oh no, spoilers. Also, I wanted to, as my librarian self is getting, of course we need to respect copyright, but we're using this as inspiration, so it's, you know.
And it's just the one line, so that's fair use.
That's
very tiny amount.
You're right.
Unless your one line has like song lyrics or something on it.
Right.
If it's song lyrics, pick a different book.
All right. So I think we're going to try 7 minutes again.
Mm-hmm.
If the first line gives the book away, you can always pick a different line. I'm sorry.
Maybe do the last line on the page then. All right, happy writing. And we're back. How did everyone do? How did you do, Erin?
I continued my scene from before. Wait 1 second.
Oh, awesome.
There's my window. Sorry. How about you?
So apparently I'm writing like a scene that takes place before the book I just started to write. So I actually did decently once. I was like, well, let me just write something unrelated. But it looks like I wrote, tell me a word, 95 words.
Nice.
Did you want to read yours, Erin?
I guess I can read it. I don't actually know what my word count is. Okay. I don't want to trouble you, but I can't help it somehow. Arissa shook her head. It isn't your fault the captain led you into a situation you weren't prepared for. She held up her hand as Gabriel opened his mouth. No, I don't want to hear the things you have to say about him. You know that he's saved my life and the lives of most of the people here. You would do well not to grumble about him aloud. But for all that, I know sometimes he can be impulsive. I'm sorry that his impulsivity caused you trouble. Caused me trouble, Gabriel said. 2 days ago I was a respectable craftsman, and now I'm an outlaw. I would say caused me trouble is putting it mildly.
I like that. You need to finish writing that so that we can actually like read the whole thing.
Would you like to share your excerpt?
Yeah, I'll share mine. It's not too long either. So remember, my first line was, what about me? So I started with that. What about me? Blaze asked, stepping into the room bearing a plate of cookies because cookies made everything better. It's nothing to be concerned about, Jefferson replied, snagging one of the treats and taking a bite, closing his eyes as the bliss of sweet deliciousness hit his tongue. We're all going to need cookies after this. It was difficult to be annoyed at someone enjoying their dessert. I need to go to Isadel, but you can stay here where it's safe. You're not going without me, Blaze said as he picked up a cookie of his own, brandishing it to make his point. So that was mine, and it looks like Taylor shared with us as well. She got over the page 19 spoiler. So she wrote, no, the thing that was bothering Harry was that the last time his scar had hurt him, it had been because Voldemort had been close by. But where was the Dark Lord now? Certainly not close enough for a scar to burn this way. Harry brought his hand to his forehead and scanned the Great Hall. Where was everyone? He scrambled to his feet, hand still pressing his scar. Ron was just here, he thought to himself. How long was he out? What happened? Something caught the corner of his eye when he realized the tables were all in disarray. Food thrown about, benches tossed over, drapes ripped from the walls, not one candle lit. The darkness swept over him, and then he saw it again. Harry whipped his head around to find nothing, just silence and mess.
Nice fan fiction there. I see why you didn't want to share it ahead of time. Okay, so Kimberly says, what was your bidding, master? A small voice called out from the corner. It's a goblin. I heard rumors there were goblins at Smith's Academy, but dismissed it as fiction. Now I'm seeing one with my very own eyes. You don't have to do anything for me. What's your name? I asked the small creature. It does not matter, new mistress. I am here only to help you and your other peers, the goblin replied. It might have been my imagination or a trick of the light, but I swear that I saw a tear from the goblin's form in the goblin's eye. My heart almost exploded with sympathy for the poor creature who was forced to help others who didn't need it. Oh,
that poor goblin. I want to go free him.
Well done, everybody.
Those were a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. I think we have time for our last game if we cut it to actually we can introduce the last game and you can write on your own if you want.
That's a good plan.
So game 3 is a story generator. So I am going to pull from the words I wrote ahead of time and the words that you guys gave me. So our story is a kind writer and a reclusive outlaw must find I should have pulled it before I said a ruby necklace in, on, or at a summer camp.
Ooh.
So our story is a kind writer and a reclusive outlaw must find a ruby necklace at summer camp. So it's pretty silly. So if everybody would like to write for 5 minutes, and then we can wrap up, I guess.
Sounds good.
All right.
And I put that prompt in our Facebook chat for people who might have missed some of those words. So are we able to get a 5-minute timer, Jenny? There we go.
Okay.
We're getting our time set. There we go.
All right. Good luck, everybody.
All right, and we're back. That was a quick 5 minutes.
Yes. So how did you do?
So I didn't do that well. I got interrupted by other work things, but I guess it worked out since we didn't have much time to write anyway.
That's true.
How did you do? Did you write about our writer and our outlaw?
Yes, like right in the nick of time, I managed to mention the ruby necklace, so I got everything into the scene right at the exact last second. So.
Oh, perfect.
So we don't have time to share, but go ahead and share in the chat, and everybody can read each other's. I will share mine as well. So, that was so. Thank you for tuning in, and can we see the next slide?
There we go.
So we have 3 more Young Writers Program events. And would you like to describe them, Amy?
Yes, so up next Thursday at the same time, same place, we have a fan fiction write-in. That will be a lot of fun, so join us if you can. Then on July 22nd, we are going to be doing character journaling, which that's another really fun exercise. And on the 29th, to try to help you get your word count in before the end of the month, we have another Young Writers write-in. So we also have our exciting summer reading program underway. So be sure you have registered for that so you can get your fun prizes, do lots of reading in addition to your writing, and also check out our Facebook page and our website for all of our upcoming events. So we thank everyone for joining us. Happy writing and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.